It's an honor and a pleasure always to be able to address a group of fellow Albertans on issues of fundamental importance to all of us. So I will quickly address APP and the APP mission. For the record, we don't consider ourselves to be right-wing or a right-wing organization. We consider ourselves to be a group of Albertans who are very much founded and rooted in common sense and common sense ideas. And our mission is to educate all Albertans, right, left, center, and otherwise, on the benefits of finally getting the hell out of Canada and taking Alberta out from underneath all of the foolishness that we have to deal with on a day-to-day basis from all of the idiots in Ottawa who think that they should be telling us how we should be running our lives in Alberta. You know, over the years, and especially the last 3 years, you know, if we were to spend our time just spending our days talking about the latest stupidity to come out of Ottawa, we literally wouldn't have time to do anything else. Right? Like, you know, I remember, you know, in the early days when we were barnstorming the province and talking about, you know, issues near and dear to APP, you know, there's an idiot cabinet minister in Ottawa talking about their environmental program and how they've learned that, you know, there's nothing that you can't do with a barrel of petroleum that you can't do with a barrel of canola oil. And you're going, okay, well, wait a minute, let's leave plastics and petrochemicals and all that stuff aside. But I just quickly, you know, Googled the spot price of a barrel of canola oil on the day versus a barrel of Western Canadian Select. It was $1,065 versus I think $45 on the day for, you know, for Western Canadian Select. So this is the problem that we've got. We've got all these idiots in Ottawa who think that they can wave a magic fairy wand in the air, and I know I shouldn't use that word in conjunction with Prime Minister Trudeau, so I apologize. But they wave this magic fairy wand in the air, and they think that they can set aside normal economics. They don't have to balance budgets. They can run a $1.8 trillion debt. They can completely bankrupt our country, have 20% inflation, make it impossible for people to heat their homes. And all of us are supposed to, you know, just go along with this like it makes sense. And what we say at APP is the best way for Albertans to protect themselves from this foolishness is to seriously consider strengthening the Sovereignty Act that's been brought in by Premier Smith and bringing in legislation that requires a referendum in Alberta every 5 years to coincide with the renewal of equalization so that Albertans can be polled by their government on whether or not they want to continue to stay part of this country that looks down their noses at us, treats us like idiots. When we come to Ottawa to protest, they call us terrorists, racists, right-wing extremists, invoke the Emergencies Act, run over Indigenous women with riot police and horses, et cetera, all because a bunch of Albertans decide to come to Ottawa to tell the government that they don't like what's going on. This is not a functional country, and this is not a place that a lot of Albertans feel comfortable in. And I hope that my fellow Albertans, you know, over the next number of years will consider joining APP chapters and just considering supporting, asking a question of people in Alberta, which is whether or not it's high time that we, you know, get the hell out of Dodge and manage our own affairs for ourselves. You know, in that regard, you know, I'd like to congratulate Premier Smith on the moves that she's taking forward with regard to the Alberta pension plan and repatriating the $365 billion that has been ripped out of this province and is being mismanaged by Canada Pension Plan Board in Toronto for the benefit of people in central Canada. Imagine what our province would be like if we had $365 billion under management in Alberta being invested in Alberta for the benefit of Albertans. So it's high time that that happens. The other thing I want to talk about today, and I'm mindful of the fact that I only have 10 minutes, so if I seem a bit frenetic today, that's why. A couple of things that I need to talk about. As Sheila Gunn-Reid alluded to, one of the things that I've been proudest of this year was a court action that our office initiated on behalf of Rebecca Ingram, where we sought a declaration setting aside every COVID order in the province of Alberta on the basis that they were ultra vires, the Public Health Act, succeeded. So We got an order from Justice Romaine, and trust me, it was for anybody that watched those proceedings, very much against her will, declaring every order issued by Dina Hinshaw throughout the pandemic to be illegal. As a result of that court case, and as a result of that order, all of the bogus charges that were laid against everybody in the province, including my friend Chris Scott and others that were improperly charged for continuing to hold to their right to continue to feed their family by operating their private businesses throughout the pandemic, all of those charges have been dropped and all of the fines are now in the process of being repaid. The other thing that flows from that is that because, and this is, so this was our plan from the outset in terms of how we frame the action. I wasn't at all concerned about any of the charter arguments, to be clear. We needed to win on the ultra vires argument because there's a section of the Public Health Act that says if the order was made under the Public Health Act, you can't sue. It's called section 66.1. It's one of the sections that the Manning report is alluding to perhaps needing to be amended. But because Justice Romaine ruled that all the orders were ultra vires the Public Health Act without understanding the consequence of it, as a result, we were then able to file the largest class action lawsuit in Alberta history on behalf of every business, every Albertan, every church, every person who lost money or who was harmed economically as a result of these stupid COVID lockdown orders that were illegally stuffed down our throats by an evil bureaucracy run amok. So that class action lawsuit is now in its early stages. We are waiting for a case management judge to be appointed and we'll be proceeding forward to certification. But you know, for everybody that's here, if you're asking yourself, what can I do to change things in Alberta for the better? And this will be the same thing I'll be talking about quickly with regard to legislative changes that need to be made. Reach out to your MLAs, reach out to your cabinet ministers, demand that that lawsuit be settled. Demand that your fellow Albertans who've had their savings depleted, who've had their bank accounts emptied, trying to keep their heads above water under these illegal Hinshaw orders that were stuffed down their throats by the Kenny cocktail cabinet, demand that those people be compensated. Because there's no planet under which a small class or group of society, and let's even just accept for 1 second, which I don't, that everything that was done in the pandemic was done for a bona fide purpose, that there was good reasons for doing everything that was done for quote unquote, the benefit of society as a whole. Under what society, for the benefit of society as a whole, should the property of a small subgroup or subclass of society be taken away from them for the benefit of everyone else without everyone else compensating them for those losses?